welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day. I hope everybody is having an amazing day. It's Friday. Just to remind you, the weekend is here. We're going to have some fun over the weekend, right? Right? Yes? Okay, good. We are going to get started with the rundown. We've got some great news stories here, and I want to give a special shout out to our buddy Timberwolf, who gave us not one but two super chat donations yesterday, and we really appreciate that. Now, the thing with the rundown on EP Live is we give you all the news stories in a blast like we always do, and then we chat about it. So if you've got any comments or questions, feel free to get them loaded up and into the chat. Give us all caps for question or comment or whatever, and we'll do our best to find those and talk about those as we chat about these news stories. But let's get started with our rundown. It looks like several classic games are coming to the Nintendo Switch. First up, the new Nintendo platform might be getting Diablo 3. Blizzard Entertainment has tweeted a vague video of a Diablo-themed light switch, leading many to speculate that they're bringing the game to the Switch. If they do, it would be the first Blizzard game released on a Nintendo platform since StarCraft 64 launched in the year 2000. That's amazing. We'll let you know if it happens. Next up, Namco Bandai has announced that Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm Trilogy is coming to the Switch next month. The collection will have the first three games in the series, originally released between 2008 and 2013, but not the more recent fourth entry, which was first released in 2016. It looks like the sands are shifting in a good way over at DC Comics. The publisher is reuniting with author Neil Gaiman to create an all-new line of Sandman Comics based on Gaiman's iconic Sandman series that was first published from 1989 to 1996. The new comics will consist of no less than 4 separate series, all set within the same Sandman universe, each penned by different authors. Gaiman himself won't be writing any of the regular books, but he is writing the debut one-off issue that will kick everything off, and that arrives this August. That's some huge news from DC. Now, over in the Marvel Universe, the new Avengers movie is shaking up the summer box office. Not everybody is happy that Disney and Marvel have bumped up the North American release date of Avengers Infinity War by 1 week. As we first mentioned yesterday, thank you, Paul Adamson, the film will now land in North America on April 27th, the same day it hits the UK and Europe. And although many Marvel fans are happy that they'll get to see it a week sooner, there are some people who are annoyed, namely other movie studios. Avengers will now be opening mere days after other big summer blockbusters like The Rock's Rampage movie and the comedy Super Troopers 2, which means those films will have a lot less time to earn back their money before Avengers knocks out all of the competition. This could potentially mean that those other films could lose as much as tens of millions of dollars or more. I don't know how you combat the Avengers. Now, Ubisoft likes the free-to-play fighting game Brawlhalla so much that they bought its developer. Ubisoft has acquired Atlanta-based studio Blue Mammoth Games and the rights to their debut title Brawlhalla, which was first released on the PC and PS4 late last year. Since then, the game has amassed a huge following, particularly with the esports community, and become the most played fighting game on Steam. Ubisoft hasn't said how much they paid to buy Blue Mammoth Games, but they have confirmed that the online popularity of Brawlhalla is the main reason they were interested. They want to beef up their presence in online gaming and esports, so buying Brawlhalla and Blue Mammoth Games is one of the ways that they hope to do it. So that's some big purchasing decisions going on from Ubisoft right there. Let's roll things back to the classic games on the Nintendo Switch story. I think that this is going to be a new pattern that is going to emerge. It's going to be a fantastic port system. Not only is it proving itself to be a terrific platform for lots of indie titles, they call them Nindies over at Nintendo, but it looks like we're also going to be getting a lot of ports of established titles. And, you know, I think we're probably going to see a lot of things that landed on the Wii U and didn't find an audience, and those developers are saying, well, look, and publishers are saying, look, we might have a better shot on this platform, so let's do it. So we will see what other titles that are going to be coming to this machine. Diablo 3 is perfect, though. That's a great fit on the Switch. I'm psyched to jump back into that thing. I know they just launched Season 13 of Diablo 3 content, which is crazy. When I had the Namco Bandai, Wilson and Denny on talking about, from Namco Bandai, talking about Dragon Ball FighterZ, they mentioned that they've supported the Switch with Naruto stuff in the past, and it looks like they're coming back in a big way with the Ninja Storm games, which is crazy. Those are good games. They're tons of fun. and they give you a good fighting burst, and they give you all of the the Naruto storylines and the characters and all that stuff, all the threads that you want out of something like that. Ninja Sex says, "Hey Vic, been watching you since I was a kid." That's funny. I've only been doing this like a couple of years, so I hope you're not that old, because I'm not that old. Okay, let's move on to, looks like the sands are shifting at DC Comics with the Sandman story. This is huge. I have a confession to make. I've never read the Neil Gaiman Sandman comics, and now this news is saying, Vic, why the hell have you never read the Neil Gaiman Sandman comics? I've met this guy. He's a wonderful dude. We met him at Sundance a few years ago, I guess probably 10 years ago or more. Jade Raymond did the interview with him, and he was terrific. He was a super sweet guy. He actually posted about being interviewed by Electric Playground on his own blog, which was a thrill to see. But a wonderful guy, and obviously involved in lots of cool things. I've seen projects, movies, and things that he's been involved with. I've likely read a story or two of his. I don't have lots of time to read novels in general these days because of the games and comics and movies and TV shows and all the other things that I sort of try to keep my fingers on. But I know he's written some great stuff out there. I'm dying to see the American Gods show. I have not seen that. But this is saying to me, I am going to load up my giant iPad through the Comixology app. I'm going to load it up with lots of Sandman stuff. All of these titles that were showing up on screen right now, I'm going to get all of those, and I'm going to read all of them. I'm excited about this, though. It seems like with the recent contract signing of Brian Michael Bendis to come over and be a writer at DC and stuff like this deal with Neil Gaiman, it's like they're really going whole hog here. They really want to bring light a fire under their DC Comics publishing brand, and I think that's great. And hopefully, we're going to have some amazing news at Comic-Con this year. Because I feel like they're doing some really inventive, creative stuff over on the comics side. With lots of established characters. They're doing really well with television, and they're really struggling with a lot of their movie projects out there right now, and I feel like they should be, working overtime to capitalize on everywhere that they can win, and things like this could be a very good thing, especially if we see that, suddenly this creates enough momentum that a Sandman movie comes together with Warner Brothers. But we'll see. It's interesting days over there. Yesterday, I sort of threw out the rumor that AT&T is trying to acquire Time Warner, and if that acquisition doesn't come together, if it falls through, Time Warner may diverse itself of its brands. It may sell Warner Brothers as a separate entity. It may sell DC Comics as a separate entity. So it must be kind of crazy days over at DC and at the studio and all of the the companies that are sort of in that corporate hierarchy over there. But this is good news. Good news for any fan of genre entertainment, and congratulations to Neil Gaiman, who is kicking ass. Now, the Avengers story coming out of, coming a week early, I think they're Disney kind of just showing that they can round the bases anytime that they want. They can say, look, we are going to own this summer. We're going to own this year. Everybody in the known galaxy that has access to a screen of some kind is going to see this thing. It's, what is this, the 18th Marvel Studios movie or something like that? The record, it's just been successive hit after, they've all been #1 at the box office when they've launched. We are so psyched for this as a collective, global population. So why the hell not? Just go for it and have some fun. And that whole Twitter exchange between Robert Downey Jr. and some of the other actors in Marvel Studios saying, yeah, let's bring it out early. Brilliant. And I'm psyched. You know what that means? Next month, we're seeing the Avengers, Infinity War, the beginning of the end of this Marvel run. It's blowing my mind. I am psyched. Rampage. They made a movie about Rampage. They almost deserve it. Okay, they almost deserve to be clobbered by the Avengers. But hopefully the Rampage movie is good too. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. Now, I've never played Brawlhalla, which is our other big. We've got a great one. Wizard Loneliness is saying they were afraid of competing with Funky Kong. He's calling the giant ape in Rampage Funky Kong. That's great. Somebody called me a vampire. Oh, it's Timberwolf. I'm a vampire. Yeah. I feast on the blood of shitty games. Okay, I'll never make that sound again. Brawlhalla I have not played, but congratulations to Blue Mammoth Games. I think it's awesome for them and also the Atlanta game development community. That's been a community that has been growing steadily over the last 10 years or so. Lots of really tech-savvy, art-savvy, smart people in that community building cool things. And it's good to see, you know, a massive publisher like Ubisoft saying, yep, we need something like this. Let's help support it and let's get this thing out there. And clearly they're on the right track. So that can only be good things for these guys. Ubisoft is such an interesting story, huh? Like when I've sat down and I've tried to kind of get a bird's eye of all of the places that Ubisoft operates, and it's unbelievable. They have studios everywhere. They are so proliferate around the globe, and it's just a fascinating organization. I just cannot fathom how they keep all of these pieces working, and clearly they're working well, but collaborating and sharing and you know, building all of this material. Very cool stuff to see. Oh, there's a DK game coming out this week. The Donkey Kong game coming out the week that Avengers is supposed to come out. You know, I'm not sure. That's a good point, Wizard of Loneliness. I'm not sure. Is there a Donkey Kong game coming out the week? Is it the remake?
Yeah, the Tropical Freeze.
Oh, Tropical Freeze for the Switch is coming out that week?
Sorry, my mic wasn't on. The Switch version of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
Yeah, I don't think Avengers was scared of Funky Kong. I don't think, I really don't. But that's an interesting conjecture right there. A fat chimp put Vancouver in brackets. Yep. That water bottle looks cool, Clayton Blair. This is actually a thermos. I put tea in this all the time. I have tea in there right now, but I didn't clean this well enough, so it tastes like crap. I took a sip just before we went live. I'm not going back into that. But it is cool. This was a gift from my friend Ian Wren, and he rocks. And I use this all the time. And it's weird that the host of Electric Playground walks around with an Electric Playground thermos, but I like it, and it's very useful. Okay, comment on Devil May Cry HD. So excited! I haven't seen Devil May Cry HD. How come these people are giving us new news? What's happening with Devil May Cry HD? I hope it's the DMC Devil May Cry HD that's coming out. I love that game. We've got a Scottish Japanese forever. Hi from Scotland. Love Scotland. Edinburgh is one of my favorite cities on planet Earth. I don't know where you're based in Scotland, but I love it out there. It's incredible, incredible country. Let's see what else we got here. We are going to get into Let's Play and chat a little bit later on, and we're going to be talking about some Super Nintendo games. Let's see if I missed any comments or questions. Thank you all for joining us, by the way. It's so surreal to scroll through all of these and to try to find people saying some stuff, which is awesome. Ninja Sec, I've been watching you since I was a kid with a happy smile. That's right. That's nice. Thank you. Okay. Haven't had much snow out in. Oh, you're locating yourselves here, which is great. It's awesome. It's so cool that we've got people watching us all across Canada and people in Scotland, and I love this. When are we going to get a SSX3 remaster? I say that all the time, Wizard of Loneliness, and I think a key, which features Funky Kong. Of course, you're obsessed with Funky Kong, Wizard of Loneliness. I think a key thing with SSX3, which was not a part of the rundown today, so you've gone way off topic, but it's okay because it's an amazing game. But I think the reason why we haven't had an SSX3 remaster is because of all the music licensing hassles that would be a part of that equation. I talked to Peter Moore about that a couple of years ago. Like, where's our Road Rash redo? Where's, you know, you've got all these amazing brands. He said the music license is just too much. He just kind of swatted like a baby a little bit. Just kidding, Peter. No, but he said no, he didn't want to deal with any of that crap. And I can kind of get it. I think if they saw the EA name wanting to do something there, all of the people that were attached to a project like that would say, well, gimme. You know, and so suddenly a remaster on a deal like that would be very expensive for EA. And as we probably can all guess, they don't want to spend lots of money on remasters because that's the whole idea. Don't spend lots, bring that thing back out again. Good afternoon, my fellow gamers, in all caps from Thorazine666. Great to see you there. Texas here. I'm loving Dragon Quest Builders on Switch and can't wait for Bloodstained. Jake, you're playing an amazing game. Dragon Quest Builders is so addictive, so fun. Okay, I think that wraps up the rundown portion of the program. What do you say, Blake? Yep. All right, let's move on to this day in everything cool. Welcome to This Day and Everything Cool for March 2nd. On this day in 1933, one of the biggest movies of all time took New York and the rest of the world by storm. The original King Kong premiered in New York's Radio City Music Hall, giving audiences their first glimpse of the now iconic movie monster. The tale of explorers who capture a gigantic gorilla and then bring him to America has had a huge influence in several different ways. First of all, it was one of the first big-budget blockbusters with a huge cost of almost $3 million, which at the time made it far more expensive than the average film. King Kong also pioneered the use of special effects, utilizing a combination of stop-motion photography and life-sized Kong puppets to bring the creature to life. The success of King Kong helped pave the way for the current Hollywood tentpole model, where studios create fewer but bigger movies rather than a larger number of smaller, less expensive films. The original film is still enjoyed by audiences to this day, and the character of Kong himself is still appearing in movies. King Kong is pretty big, but on March 2nd, 1983, things were looking a little more compact. The very first compact disc, or CD players, began hitting store shelves in North America, having previously only been available in Japan. CDs were the first mainstream music format to offer digital audio. All the previous consumer products like vinyl records and cassette tapes relied on analog technology, which is arguably less crisp and clear. CDs took the world by storm and became the dominant music format by the 1990s. Sales began declining with the rise of downloadable music and MP3 players in the early 2000s, and today they're largely obsolete. There's nothing worse than being stuck on a long flight with no music to listen to, so thankfully on this day in 1969, flights started getting a lot shorter. The very first Concorde aircraft took off for its maiden flight, soaring across the UK in record time. The first regular commercial flights began a few years later, making it the first supersonic passenger aircraft. The unique wing design and more slender fuselage of the Concorde allows the planes to fly much faster than conventional jet aircraft, although not without some problems. In the year 2000, a Concorde operated by Air France exploded during takeoff, tragically killing all on board, and the accident was attributed to flaws in the Concorde's tire design. As a result, the Concorde has since been retired, although several companies have tried to get it off the ground once again in recent years. That's the idea. Every day there is something cool that either happened or is happening, and on Sunday what is happening is, of course, I think the 175 billionth Oscars show is going on. It's been going on for a long time, these Oscars. It was a big year in movies in 2017, lots of good ones, and some good ones were chosen by the Academy, and I wanted to talk about that and also give you guys some of my predictions, and I think we're going to center mostly around the 9 nominations for Best Picture. Obviously, we'll get into some lead actor and less lead actress kind of stuff. I'm going to just call out the nominations right now, just in case you haven't been following any of this stuff. And I don't blame you. Sometimes the noise around all of these award shows gets to be a bit much. I will tell you that I have seen every one of the 9 Best Picture nominations. I've used the last couple of nights to download and stream and watch any of the remaining stragglers, but I watched probably 100 or so movies last year. I can tell you what was the best movie of last year, and I can also tell you that the best movie of last year is not one of those nominated, and it pisses me off. But the ones that were nominated, Call Me By Your Name, which stars Armie Hammer and a lead actor by the name of Timothée Chalamet, who was actually nominated for an Oscar for his performance in that film. Darkest Hour, which stars Gary Oldman as Winston Churchill. Dunkirk, the Christopher Nolan movie. Get Out, which was the phenomenon that Jordan Peele directed and wrote. A horror movie with lots of cool twists. Lady Bird, Greta Gerwig wrote and directed this movie. It's kind of a coming-of-age tale with a quirky woman that is played by how do you say it? Saoirse Ronan. Almost got it. Yes, and she is also nominated for Best Actress. We've got Phantom Thread, Daniel Day-Lewis' supposed last film. Worked with Paul Thomas Anderson. The Post, Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep in a film directed by Steven Spielberg about the Washington Post. The Shape of Water, Guillermo del Toro has directed this, wrote it, and it's up for a bunch of awards, which is phenomenal, and I'm very happy about that. And 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and I forget the name of the director. I think it's a Scottish director with a really quirky take on this. And Frances McDormand's a star in this. Sam Rockwell, Woody Harrelson, some great performances in this thing.
Hey, Vic, the director's name is Martin McDonagh.
Martin McDonagh is the director of 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Probably the worst title of any movie released in 2017. Incredibly difficult to remember that long one and to tell somebody to have them remember it. And so I don't know what the box office was like, but it's getting lots of buzz. Lots of people are picking Sam Rockwell to win Best Supporting Actor in his category. So let's talk about these things for a second, and I'm going to roll a little bit. I think I've got a little 3 billboards here. I can run a little bit of some of the trailer stuff behind me, beside me. 3 Billboards is about a mom who is desperate to have some closure on a horrific, violent attack that happened with one of her kids. And she really takes the town and specifically the police department to task. And it is a very intricately woven piece with lots of really quirky performances. There's a real dark comedy core to this movie, and also an honesty that I really appreciated. And I got to tell you, Woody Harrelson broke my heart in this movie. He is amazing. I think this is one of the strongest roles, and he is such a good actor who is like this journeyman that just travels from piece to piece. We're going to see him next in Solo, and he does a good job for a guy that was kind of like the dummy on Cheers. You know, the sort of laughing stock on a show that was really just made fun of him all the time. He's really evolved into this powerhouse performer that you are always kind of impressed by, and he is very impressive in this. Frances McDormand is one of the best actors Hollywood has ever given us. You know, she's just phenomenal and commanding and powerful, and doesn't take any guff and kicks little kids that piss her off in the hoo-ha. And she's pretty damn amazing. She's great in this. And Sam Rockwell is a complete ass and a dummy and a racist and a goofball. But there's something more with this character, and that's kind of the movie. It's really about it's a character piece. It's really about these quirky people that get slammed together, and they got to kind of coexist and figure each other out. And this town, Ebbing, Missouri, is not really capable of dealing with the drama and you know this violence that erupts. But some pretty solid stuff. I was absolutely entertained. It is a great movie, and I do believe that that deserves to be one of the Best Picture nominations for 2017. Let's talk a little bit about Lady Bird, and I've got a trailer there for that one as well. Let me see if I can pull that one up. 1 second here. Lady Bird was one that I just watched yesterday, and I was also impressed by this very honest portrayal of what it's like to be someone with a dream that is bigger than the town they're from. And this takes place in Sacramento, California. And Saoirse Ronan is Lady Bird. Her name is Christine, but she demands that everybody call her Lady Bird. So it reminded me a little bit of Juno. You know, what's that actress's name that was in Juno? I forget her name. Ellen Page, yeah. It reminded me a little bit of Ellen Page's Juno, with that sort of fish out of water. I'm unique. Take me seriously, but I'm too cool for this small town kind of vibe. So there's a little bit of that. She meets some dudes, and she has her first sort of sexual experiences. And she's got an overbearing mother that just doesn't seem to like her. And there's a big question about whether they have a relationship that can be salvaged in there. And Daniel Stern is in this thing, and he broke my heart too. He's so damn good in this movie. I didn't know that he was in it, and he's kind of unrecognizable if you haven't seen him in a little while. That voice, though, is kind of hard to miss. But Laurie Metcalf, I think, steals the movie. She's, as the mom, she used to be on Roseanne back in the day. I'm pretty sure that's Dennis Stern. He's just amazing. But Laurie Metcalf is awesome in this movie. She is probably like a lot of moms, like a mom you may have or a mom you may know, but she's very real and she's very concerned and she's very, aware of every penny being spent by this family that doesn't have a lot to sort of work with in a town where there are elitists and expectations on, social status and stuff like that. But it was good. It was honest and it was quirky and it was cool. And I can see some real value in seeing this, and I also agree that this should have been one of the Best Picture nominations for 2017 because it's a very fun, honest, heartfelt piece of work. And Greta Gerwig is really sort of creating a nice body of work for herself in Hollywood, sort of counterculture with her choices and the stuff that she's in. She acts in a lot of movies as well, and she's great. So congrats to Lady Bird for this nomination and to the actors that are involved that are also nominated. I think that's awesome. Get Out was a nice, phenomenal shocker of a surprise in 2017. It came out early in the year, and it took us a while to see this thing. I don't know what the hell, but Johnny Millennium and I saw it on Film Fury, and I think we had to wait till it came to home theater. We missed it in theaters. I don't know if I was traveling or whatever, but we finally saw this movie, and it's not what it appears to be in the trailers. I'm sure most of you have seen this thing, and I think it's a surprising choice for Best Picture. It's an excellent movie, but it is one of these kind of genre horror type movies, and you don't normally see this kind of work sort of put up there with a Daniel Day-Lewis period picture, and it's weird that it's there. I can understand why it's there. I think there are certainly some political reasons why it is there, and I'm not sort of trying to diminish the quality of the movie at all. I also feel like there's some strong social messaging around this movie that is very relevant and very cool and very topical and worth getting into the conversation of. But most of all, this is just an amazing movie that has really carved out its own niche and left us with some iconic imagery and some iconic moments. And certainly there's discussion about more from this as sequels, and I think Jordan Peele is being courted with lots of dinero right now to make more of this. But it's a great movie. It is kind of surprising that it's there, but I can appreciate that it's there. I think it's got a long shot of winning in this category. Maybe there'll be some other categories for writing or something like that this will win. But I think we got to applaud that this kind of risky, sort of the moment picture has gone on to create this much buzz and this much success around the world. Didn't cost a lot, and it was made with love, and it was made with real craft, and it's turned out to be a massive success. And so, congrats on your Oscar nomination, Get Out. Now we're going to move on to something that I think everybody could have probably seen a mile away was going to be nominated for an Oscar, and that's Dunkirk, which Christopher Nolan crafted. Hold on, I've got to open that up here one second. And this is all about the Battle of Dunkirk and the retreat of Dunkirk. There's actually 2 movies that are about that, which is crazy in this Oscar year in these categories. But Dunkirk, I think, follows Christopher Nolan's kind of patented, beautiful cinematography, these epic scenes. I think he shot a lot of it on IMAX. Lots and lots of, stuff in the vista, lots of epic backdrops. But I think what makes this movie exciting is the combination of the intense soundtrack and the sort of out of whack editing, which keeps you kind of guessing, like, where are we going with this? What's happening now? And the timeline doesn't really matter, but you can see it all sort of stitched together, and the clock is ticking in the music, and it's intense and it's freaky and it's frightening, but it's also a little bloodless. And I remember reviewing this with Johnny on Film Fury and just feeling like that was awesome, and I'm glad I saw it, but I don't know if I need to ever see it again. I don't know if it's really registered with me emotionally. And one of the things that I brought up is it felt a little inauthentic that there was no blood anywhere. You know, there was no blood on the beach, no blood in the sand. It kind of takes away some of the impact of the horror that these young men were facing and these civilians were facing. It's an incredible story, though, and it obviously needed to be made because it was made twice, and both of those movies are Oscar nominated. You know, powerful decisions by everybody involved historically. So I loved all of those aspects of it, and I can't fault the production quality. You know, I thought all of the scenes with Tom Hardy in the cockpit were incredibly riveting and so well framed, and so it felt so vital and real. And certainly I was living those moments, but I also felt like, you know, Saving Private Ryan and many other war films over the years have kind of brought us to the battlefield in a grittier, more horror-filled way. You know, there's I think, an effort here to make a story that more people will watch, so younger people could go and see this movie. It wasn't a hard R-rated movie or anything like that. I think more to historically kind of capture the moments here, and that was effective. I can understand why it would get chosen as a Best Picture nominee, but it's definitely not my choice for Best Picture of 2017. Let's go into the other movie that dealt with the Battle of Dunkirk and also the first days of Winston Churchill, who was played by an unrecognizable Gary Oldman. He is incredible in this movie. You can't understand half of the things he says, which is right, you know, along the lines of the character of Winston Churchill. It was amazing to watch this performance because you are just like, holy crap, this is just a brutish. His wife calls him Pig. Kristen Scott Ritter, I think is her name. She's been in tons of movies. She's incredible. He just looks like an oaf, and everybody just disparages him, and you know, he's not trusted by anybody. He meets the king, who is played by Ben Mendelsohn, who I love, and there's scenes with Ben Mendelsohn and Gary Oldman in this, which are just like, wow, man, this is incredible. And I was completely 100% in this film and believing the tactility of everything. Now, Joe Wright is the director, and he's done this kind of work before. He did Atonement, he did Pride and Prejudice. He's done this period kind of stuff where he makes it believable. It feels like the camera choices he picks and the lenses he picks and the lighting he picks brings us into these bunkers and brings us into these war rooms and operation rooms and these dusty studies and these opulent palaces, and it was so transportive. And then you couple that with the incredible makeup effects. That wasn't Gary Oldman slapping on 75 pounds of weight. He actually affixed, you know, prosthetics to his face and his body. He added half his body weight in makeup, and he became Winston Churchill. And it's amazing. I mean, this is an incredible piece of work, and they definitely reference a lot of the same concerns around Dunkirk and the terrible viciousness of what Germany and the German troops were doing to all of Europe, and also the incredible pressures that Winston Churchill faced, because this was his beginning. This was his opening salvo. He had to make some really tough choices. It's you have to see this movie. It's incredible. It is a little bit like, you know, you're going into history lessons a little bit, but holy crap, is it well made. I was blown away by Darkest Hour, and absolutely it is a contender for my personal Best Picture of 2017, especially out of this list. Let's move on to Phantom Thread. This was Paul Thomas Anderson's movie, which is so stylish, fittingly, because we're talking about an incredible dressmaker played by Daniel Day-Lewis. It's set in the 60s, I believe, 50s or 60s, and everything is so slick and elegant, and he drives an awesome car, and he has a beautiful house, and his sister is meticulously helping to kind of rein in his brilliance, and he's such a fidgety, fussy kind of jerk. And then he falls in love with this waitress, and they have what feels like a real authentic romance. and then some of the layers of the onion start to peel off, and she sees him for who he really is, and there's a lot of sort of judgment and lots of threats thrown around, and it gets dark because every Paul Thomas Anderson movie has to have a darkness about it. It was meticulous and really, really well made, but I also felt, in contrast to some of the other work that Paul Thomas Anderson has done over the years, it felt a little lacking in real emotion, and I think that was partly because of the era and partly because of the character and the time. This is about, being the best in this kind of superficial kind of platform here that Daniel Day-Lewis operates in. And there is this inability to emote and articulate. Like everything has to be reserved, and it's all, you put on your happy face and your stoic and at all costs. And I think that kind of hurts the movie. We're seeing some of the most dramatic pieces in this trailer, and it's there, but it's so buried under the weight of all this nuance and stuff that I just wasn't, I felt like they were such successful people that it really took a lot for me to really care about them, like they were just so perfect that it's like, what are you complaining about? Why do you have to be such an asshole? And so I just didn't care the same way that I cared about other Paul Thomas Anderson characters. Still, really, really brilliantly made movie, and I can fully understand why it's one of the contenders as well. Let's move on to The Post, which I thought might be a little dry, and certainly there are moments in here that are dry, but this movie, I think, did something very interesting by dramatizing the story around the story of the release of the Pentagon Papers in the 70s, and Nixon sort of threatening not just the Washington Post, but other papers and other news organizations with lawsuits and full-on FBI investigations and stuff like that, sort of showing his might. And Tom Hanks is the editor of the paper, and he's like, look, this is a story the American people need to know about, the world needs to know about it. And so it comes out, and the Post is kind of on a bubble of being sold, or they're a small fry compared to the New York Times, and you see a little bit inside the newsrooms in there. All pertinent, all cool, and obviously made in this era as the news is being threatened on a daily basis, and there's all the fake news that's being permeated through social media and all that stuff, and all kinds of hacking and things going on to kind of subvert, as well as news organizations are constantly facing economic turmoil today. So it's interesting to contrast that with stuff that was happening in the 70s and the importance of an objective news organization. And that's also questioned a lot in this movie. I thought it was an intellectual, fantastic trip and a great ride. And certainly, like, I've never purported to be a journalist, myself. Like, I didn't go to journalism school or whatever, but I've certainly worked hard to maintain the integrity of the Electric Playground brand and the work that I do. And I identify with a lot of these struggles and a lot of these concerns, and I believe in free press and supporting news organizations and letting them do their work and letting them dig deeper into stories like this. So it was a fascinating movie, and because Spielberg made it, there's just every famous person you could think of just pops up in pieces all over the place, and they got the era perfectly, and it moves along at a solid fast clip. There's lots of great coverage, and everybody looks period and like perfect for the period, and it was really fun. It was a really cool, fun, important piece of work, and again, this is one that I say, yep, Academy got this one right. This was good. Let's move on to, I think we got them all. Call Me By Your Name, which was one that I just watched last night. This is I think the one that, this is the one I think the Academy maybe got it a little bit wrong. Not necessarily because it's a bad movie. I think it's a good movie. It just feels a little on the nose, you know. It's a gay romance story that Armie Hammer and Timothy Chalamet are discovering each other in northern Italy, and you know, it's a coming of age tale again. Timothy Chalamet, by the way, is in Lady Bird, and there's another actor that's in Lady Bird that's in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and it was weird to watch all of these movies together and see these, you know, some of these same faces populate all these flicks. But you know, it's great performances, and obviously this is northern Italy, and it's beautiful. It's shot during the summertime, and lots of guys with their shirts off, and it's a cool story. You know, it's a great story of this kid that's trying to kind of find his sexual identity, and he falls for Armie Hammer, who comes in. He's this this history student that is learning about the culture and the historical significance of the area. And you know, there's one of the things that I really like about this movie is the sort of sense of chill that it has, and the moments of stillness, and it's not afraid to just show people just relaxing and sleeping and enjoying the summertime, you know. But I think we've seen movies like that so many times over the years. So it was beautiful, and it was lush, and it was aided by this gorgeous location and performers that were totally into having truthful sort of moments, and I liked all of that. And Chalamet does some really great work in here. But as a film, I just felt like, okay, I mean, I've seen so many pictures over the years that are like almost carbon copies of this kind of story that it didn't really give me that impact, like, oh my God, this is one of the most important movies you got to see of 2017. So I would say that that's one that the filmmakers kind of, or the Academy got wrong in sort of nominating for this kind of award. Maybe some of the other awards, maybe the lead actor award would be cool, but in terms of a best picture, I think that's crazy. Not crazy, just didn't deserve it. The movie that deserved to be nominated and deserves the Best Picture award from my vantage point is Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water, and this is an incredible piece of work. This is Guillermo del Toro's best movie. This is a movie about a woman that falls in love with a fish man, which is weird, but Guillermo del Toro makes monster movies, and that's kind of what his forte is. And it's a more beautiful piece than that. You know, it's not just a weirdo, you know, period sci-fi thing. There's real heart, there's real tenderness, there's real love and significance with this beautifully crafted piece of work here, you know. And Richard Jenkins is nominated as one of the best supporting actors. He's sensational in this movie. You know, heartfelt and gentle and genuine, and just a beautiful supporting character in all senses of the word. Sally Hawkins, who's the lead actor here, actress, is amazing. She doesn't say much in this movie. I don't think she really says anything. She's just she emotes, and she has this ferocious kind of spirit to not be sort of diminished or you know, placed into a box or whatever. And she chases her dream, and her dream happens to be Doug Jones in this incredibly elaborate makeup. The story is fantastical, but there's, you know, just this, I don't know, poetic truthfulness about it that I was astounded. I was moved. I was floored. There was like a movie musical overtones to it. There was a love of cinema all the way through this movie. It looks gorgeous. Guillermo del Toro shot this in the Toronto area, and it just looked like we really went back in time. And Michael Shannon is also excellent in this movie. He's very menacing, and he's very creepy. And I don't know if it's going to win because, again, it's one of these genre-type pictures, you know? It's a weird kind of concept, but this is the movie that should win it. This is the movie. The Shape of Water is incredible, and it's astounding, and it was a surprise, and you couldn't take your eyes off of it. And I hope you all saw it. It was awesome. Now, the movie that is conspicuously absent, and I think is a crying shame, is Blade Runner 2049. Now, that is the movie that I feel should be Best Picture, and some of the other categories that it is not in, it should also have some names in those categories as well. But Blade Runner, for my money, hands down, best movie of 2017. It's a crying shame that it's not in the Best Picture category. But my fingers are crossed that The Shape of Water is the winner. My prediction is that it's going to be, I really hope it is The Shape of Water, but my prediction for Best Picture is that the Academy is going to give it to Dunkirk. I think that they probably will. Lead actor, I think we've got Timothée Chalamet, Daniel Day-Lewis in Phantom Thread, Daniel Kaluuya in Get Out, Gary Oldman, and Denzel Washington and Roman J. Israel Esquire. I didn't see that movie. That's one that I didn't see, but I don't see how anybody could take that prize away from Gary Oldman in Darkest Hour. Amazing. Lead actress is Sally Hawkins in Shape of Water, Frances McDormand, Margot Robbie in I, Tonya. I did not see I, Tonya, and I suspect that Margot Robbie did a great job in that, but I have not seen it. Saoirse Ronan in Lady Bird, Meryl Streep in The Post. I think that Frances McDormand is probably going to win. My vote would be for Sally Hawkins. And supporting actor, we got William Dafoe in The Florida Project. He was great in that. I didn't really love that movie. I thought it was a little overrated, but it was a good performance by him. Woody Harrelson in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Richard Jenkins, Christopher Plummer in All the Money in the World. Again, I did not see that one, unfortunately. I want to see that, though. And of course, he had the challenge of having to step into the role that Kevin Spacey was fired from, which is crazy. Sam Rockwell also nominated for 3 Billboards. My vote is for, my choice would be for Richard Jenkins in The Shape of Water, but my thought is that Sam Rockwell is probably going to take the award from the Academy. But I hope Richard Jenkins is up on stage. And supporting actress, Mary J. Blige in Mudbound. She was great. I saw that movie. It is terrific. Allison Janney in I, Tonya. I did not see that. Leslie Manville in Phantom Thread. She was great. And Laurie Metcalf in Lady Bird. Octavia Spencer in The Shape of Water. Great, great. I think the Academy and myself are going to agree on this and give it to Laurie Metcalf in Lady Bird. She was awesome in that movie. Best Director for nominees are Christopher Nolan in Dunkirk, Jordan Peele in Get Out, Lady Bird, Greta Gerwig, Phantom Thread, Paul Thomas Anderson, and Guillermo del Toro. If del Toro does not win that Oscar, the Academy is drunk. He deserves it. I predict that he's going to win that, and if he doesn't win it, they're crazy. Because he made this movie for not a lot of money. That's the other side of this thing, right? He didn't get the studio back. Here's $120 million. I think he made this thing for like 25 million. And it doesn't look it. It looks amazing. Animated feature, we got Boss Baby, Breadwinner, Coco, Ferdinand, Loving Vincent. You're crazy if you think anything other than Coco isn't going to win that. Coco is winning that for sure. And then adapted screenplay. Here's where we get some interesting stuff. Call Me By Your Name, The Disaster Artist, Logan, Molly's Game, and Mudbound. I want Logan to win. I don't know if they will, but I think that would be incredible if Logan won. I thought it was obviously an amazing movie, one of my favorites of the year. Easily could have replaced Call Me By Your Name for one of the contenders for Best Picture. I mean, I can't believe that it isn't up there. That's the one that I would pick for Best Adapted. Best Original, we got The Big Sick, Get Out, Lady Bird, Shape of Water, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing. I give it to The Shape of Water again. You know, I think The Shape of Water walked away with the most nominations. They deserved every single one of them. Cinematography, Blade Runner 2049, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Mudbound, Shape of Water. If Blade Runner doesn't win cinematography, everybody should quit. Hollywood is over, okay? And visual effects, we got Blade Runner, Guardians of the Galaxy, Kong, Skull Island, Star Wars The Last Jedi, War for the Planet of the Apes. Now, this is incredibly tough because there was excellent work in everything there. I'm going to cross Kong off. It was good, but Guardians off. I think Star Wars has the problem with it is like they're going to be coming out every year, so we're going to see awesome Star Wars effects all the time. It's really about War for the Planet of the Apes or Blade Runner, and in terms of visual effects, I think the stuff in War for the Planet of the Apes is staggering. Like, it's so seamless. You never stop thinking that, like, you never think for a moment that you're not looking at real apes up there, and that's amazing. It was so good. It was crazy. I don't know if you saw this movie. War for the Planet of the Apes is amazing. It's a great, great movie. Again, another worthy contender for best movie of 2017. It was way better than it had any right to be. It should have just been like, well, let's make more money on our apes movies. But no, it's got a ton of like value and heart and great performances. And I think, as much as I love the effects in Blade Runner and Star Wars and Guardians, I think it's more impressive the way that they brought these apes to life and made them so realistic in a world that we kind of know. Also, Woody Harrelson is excellent in that movie as well. But War for the Planet of the Apes, I think, gets my pick for that. Now, there are a bunch of other awards and stuff. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but that is my my Oscar deluge. And you know what? We can talk a little bit more about that. I'd love to hear your comments if you've been making them as I've been streaming. Let's hear them when we get into Let's Play and Chat. We're going to be talking about that in a little bit. But right now, let's take a look at a buried treasure. My buried treasure today is Wolfenstein, not the more recent Wolfenstein games from Machine Games, but I'm talking about the one that Raven made for the Xbox 360, PS3 era. It was also a PC game as well, and it had some pretty cool tech. They worked with id Tech 4, I believe, and this was a game that really kind of, has, the Machine Game stuff have kind of focused on this sort of almost updated steampunk, or this future through the lens of the past kind of aesthetic. But Wolfenstein back in 2009 that the Raven team developed really kind of went with this occult version of augmented weaponry and stuff. So it was like a lot of supernatural weapons. There was even this different supernatural dimension that you traveled through called the Veil, and you got all kinds of powers. BJ Blazkowicz got all kinds of powers. You had lots of great weaponry, and the combat was super fun. And then it was heightened by these great kind of ethereal flourishes that made the game fun, and it also was a little bit taxing on the hardware at the time, so there was some chop and there were some issues with it, but it was still really solid gameplay. Raven is a terrific developer. They've stopped kind of making their, putting their own stamp on their own titles these days, but back in the day, they used to deliver lots of great titles for us, and this was one of them. It was fun in the day, and in the rearview mirror with the more recent Wolfenstein games, it's kind of cool to kind of take a look back at where this series has come, and I think it's absolutely an underappreciated gem, and my hat's off to Raven, who has developed lots of great games for us in their history, and that's why I say their Wolfenstein is a terrific buried treasure. That was an amazing game, absolutely super cool. Clayton Blair, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's move on though, we've got some more information on Far Cry 5. It's almost here, let's take a look.
Something is coming. You can feel it, can't you? You can feel that we are creeping toward the edge. And there will be a reckoning.
This is my first experience working on a video game, and I had some trepidation at first because I wasn't familiar with where this level of storytelling and the depth of characters that are involved in these games was. And then they sent the breakdown of some of these characters, and the first couple, I can't even remember the names, but I wasn't interested in. Then this father, this charismatic cult leader, and I thought, And they sent a monologue that Drew had written that was one of the most beautiful and harrowing pieces of writing that I'd come across.
Now, I don't claim to be a perfect man, but I saw what was coming and I chose to act. I chose to lead.
It took us a while to sort of lock into who Joseph really was. We understood him as a cult leader, and we understood that he believed that the world was ending and the sort of the purpose of the cult. But for me as a writer, the character didn't crystallize in my head until we found Greg and saw what he would bring to that performance. And it allowed me to, once I could hear him in my head, when I could sit down at the keyboard and start to write these monologues, it really started to flow. I understood the empathy that you could feel for Joseph because I knew that we had an actor that could reach those places.
I started this project for you.
The process, I mean, acting is acting is acting. It's you're trying to reveal your truth, whatever that is, the truth of the character, and bring your truth so that so the shadow lines up with the body and creates a whole. It was took a minute to get used to the bodysuit and the dots and working the volume and having the mask right on your face. But the luxury is there's a camera always there, you know, so that there's you're in a confessional at all times. And because most of the father's work is either dealing with another one of the players, another one of the characters, or the player, and I actually had someone to talk to, someone who was wearing the camera, so you could always find a moment of communion. You could always create intimacy, and it became a very comfortable hybrid between almost doing a play and a film, or doing a play with a close-up camera on your face the whole time. So it was an unbelievably happy process for me.
I save souls. God will never let you take me.
There's this great tradition of villains, for lack of a better word, that were beautifully realized by Mike Mando and by Troy Baker, and to step into that lineage was a challenge, and the writing for the father, for Joseph, is extraordinary.
Now I know some of you out there, you doubt me. You might call me crazy.
Doing the research in cult leaders, and you sort of see the ones that are believe fully in their message, and then you see the ones that are sort of the charlatan and are just sort of in it for the power trip. We went back and forth a lot. So those were discussions that Dan and JS and I had about, does he actually believe it, or is he sort of making it up as he goes along just to sort of manipulate people? And I think what we centered on was that if he didn't fully believe in what he was saying, then there was a falseness to what he's doing. He sort of became a snake oil salesman, and it took it away from, I think, the strength of the character. It was something that was absolutely discussed, but the more and more we started to delve into the story, it became I think more compelling that he fully believed in what he was saying, and scarier, because you can't reason with someone like that.
I help the blind to see.
For me, I believe that I was chosen by God. I unequivocally, God spoke to me and told me what was going to come. What if God spoke to Joseph? What if what seems to be madness is really a process towards salvation? I think that if you stop to think about that, it becomes really unsettling. And if the character of Joseph believes that, then that is going to force the player to pause in a way that if it was just something, it was a game I'm playing because I want to have cult chicks and make money and do that sort of thing. I think faith is a real challenge.
You question what we've built here. But when you wake up in the morning, you look at the same news that I do. Do your eyes not fill with horror? Every time you open your phones, every time you turn on the television, it's all confusion, fear, and anger. That is your world.
Because it is set in modern times, and is set in a familiar place, people are going to view it through their own lenses and view it with their own personal worldview, and that's the beauty of approaching the subject matter in a way that we do. But for us, it was about telling a story of a man who has this belief, who has this mission, and it's about the people around him and how they react to what's happening, whether it is the cult themselves and the family, or the people that sort of make up the broad tapestry of people that we see in America, make it what is America. Pastor Jerome, Grace, Nick Rye, Eli in the Whitetail Mountains, and all these people sort of coming together who have all these sort of different viewpoints and different opinions about the world, coming together to sort of rally against what they see as someone trying to take their home from them. And it's that push and pull, the resistance and the cult, that really drives the story.
Your leaders are too impotent to act. Or they're bullies that are too addled to lead. That is the world that you've built.
any cultural signpost, and this game is a cultural signpost, is going to be able to be, you can find validation for whatever your views are either way. I think it's a game about a cult, and I think it's about a person who feels that they have a calling from God, and there's no specific religious affiliation of any sort. So I think that everything else is a projection onto it, and it's a conversation piece, and people should talk about it. If this game, which doesn't have a political intention or an agenda, causes discussion, then that's great, because discussion is the synthesis of opposing views, creates a harmony in some ways. And this, to me, is an artist revealing something about myself in the service of some great writing and a spectacular character, like a world-class iconic character living in modern times.
Something is coming, but I will protect you. I am your father, and you are my children. And together we will march to Eden's Gate.
So coming out of E3 last year, the buzz was very good on a game called Moss, which stars a little mouse named Quill, and it's a PlayStation VR exclusive. And I was looking forward to this game because, like every other VR aficionado out there, you're always looking for these games that are going to move the needle and get people talking about virtual reality as a profound video game friendly experience. And there have been some good games that have really showcased this technology in some wonderful ways, but Moss, I think, is something very different. Unfortunately, it's a little too short to really make this massive statement that says, look, you absolutely need VR gaming in your life. But what you get out of this experience is irrefutable. It is a beautiful game, and I think it really showcases how you can make VR experiences that are chill, that are about sort of sinking back into your chair, but also leaning forward and leaning into the experience, but not kind of pushing it. Not like, you know, almost like those early 3D movies where everything was kind of coming at your face and you're swatting away things. VR has a propensity to do that, and a lot of VR developers are just sort of, you know, toying with the technology and just showcasing all of their skills at manipulating 3D objects and stereoscopic 3D and, you know, putting objects all around you and stuff all around you. Moss doesn't really do that. Moss does have a full fleshed out universe and an environment and a world for you to kind of explore with your head and you know, by leaning around obstacles and stuff like that. But really, this is just tried and true gameplay with a character that you love and this little mouse named Quill. But you are also another character. You play the reader, and you sort of interact with this world as if you were sort of diving into a storybook. And the storybook conceit starts off right at the beginning. You're flipping pages on a book as a narrator kind of tells the tale of this world. And we get to know some of the other characters that populate this world, and we're sort of moving through pages in this book. At first, it all feels a little precious, and we've certainly had a lot of storybook kind of designs with lots of video games in the past. But as you get lost in the fairy tale kind of environments, and we get to see all of these beautiful animations that Quill has, you also see your own reflection in, you know, in water and puddles and things like that. You really feel connected to this universe, and that's what I have to applaud Polyarc the most for, is that they really crafted something that felt tactile. You feel like you're in this world. And Quill, as she's maneuvering through this, you know, the ruins of fallen warriors, because there is this really cool design piece in here where we have all of these old busted pieces of humanity juxtaposed against these beautiful, ornate, tiny little worlds that are mouse-sized. And these mice are so cool. They ride squirrels as if the squirrels were the horses in this kingdom, and it's absolutely beautiful. And you do encounter some enemies. You get into some fights with these, you know, corrupted bugs and crabs that can shoot at you. And then there's lots of these really, you know, interesting puzzles to solve that aren't too difficult, but really reminded me of some of the environmental puzzles and challenges that you had in games like Prince of Persia. The way the levels are kind of laid out for you, you feel like they can stretch on forever, and that's a fantastic job by the artists at Polyarc. There's this real extension outwards, but they're really contained. You're moving from room to room, and you have to solve the puzzles within these rooms and unlock the doors that give you access and grant you access to further rooms deeper into this tale. And what you're really trying to do is defeat this giant corrupted snake and some of these mechanical, baddies that you'll meet up along the way, and rescue your uncle who is trapped. And it doesn't take a long time. I streamed this game the other day, and I streamed about just over 2 hours of the game. And I wasn't far from the end. And I didn't realize it until I went back the next day, and I was playing with my wife and my daughter. And my daughter was entranced, by the way. She was just absolutely captivated by the beauty of it. And she's only 6, but I did put the PlayStation VR headset on her just so she could look around and sort of feel what it's like to be in the world of Quill and Moss. And she was gobsmacked. She was absolutely blown away, and she wanted to wear it more, but it's not good for little kids, so I took it off. But she watched while I played on the television. And there were a couple things that really connected for me, is that the design of the gameplay is solid, and it would work and it does work in VR, but it would also work on a two-dimensional screen. And Quill is a fantastic invention, an amazing character. Definitely a lot like Mouse Guard, and the comparisons are kind of easy to make. The mouse with the sword, and that comic series has been around forever, and apparently it's being made into a movie at some point down the road, which will be cool. But we don't normally get to play as mice with swords and move through these magical, mystical, tiny kingdoms. And it's all so beautiful. But it's brief, and at the end, I was like, I want more. I want more of this, and there is a tease of more, and I really hope that more is coming. But just like I was transfixed by the wonderful Lucky's Tale by Playful, and less so with the 2D sort of sequel that was put on the Xbox One. I really love the idea of Lucky's Tale, and I said to myself when I played it, this is an incredible VR showcase, but this character in this world could exist in 2D and still be super fun, and that was proven to be true. I feel that exponentially more for the world of Moss. This is an amazing world that has been created for us, and I just wanted to stay in there forever. I mean, there are echoes of some of the best stuff that we've seen from Fumito Ueda. Certainly there's a Disney-like kind of quality to everything. Quill is just engaging as hell. She'll ask for little high fives. You can, move in with your face because you've got the helmet on, and look her right in the eyes, and she looks right up at you, and when she defeats an enemy, she might kick it and sort of shake her fist, or she celebrates every time she finds a little scroll hidden in the world. I'm talking a lot about this game because it matters. It's a really cool game, and I feel like this is one that everybody can play, and you can put the headset on everybody, and it will be entrancing and technically amazing, but also accessible and approachable and addictive. And I think it could very well change a lot of perceptions about how to build great VR games. You don't have to stand up, and you don't have to reach in and move all over the place. That's fun too. That kind of room scale, huge adrenaline rush is great, and it's a big part of VR for sure. But I also feel these more intimate and approachable, very crafted, very tuned, very orchestrated, creations like this have a very key part in VR gaming, and also I guess we'll see a lot of AR gaming like this. For now, this is one of the strongest games that you can pick up for the PlayStation VR. It's a lower price title, and it's a shorter game, and it's one that you're going to want to go and play through again, but it's also going to be one that you're going to want to share with a lot of people because it's absolutely beautiful. I really wish it was longer. That's my biggest complaint, is I just want a lot more, and I hope we see a lot more. I'm going to give Moss an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, great week for VR gaming, man. This is so cool, and it was great to have the developers from the people behind Moss on the show yesterday. Incredible story, and anybody that's got a PSVR, you absolutely have to check that game out. And I think about it. I'm spinning on it all the time. So we're going to get into, it's been a pretty hefty show, not a bad way to kind of wrap up the week with lots and lots of content. I don't know how many of you are going to watch the Oscars now that I've basically spoiled the Oscars for you because I've given you all the right picks. But I don't know if you're going to watch the Oscars still. But there's lots of things to engage ourselves with over the weekend, including classic games, which is what I'm going to do right now with our Let's Play and Chat. And our lovely and talented Blake Siefkin is going to come and join me, and he can tell me a little bit about his Far Cry 5 trip at the same time. And if you've got any questions or comments, now's your time to throw them out there, and we will endeavor to answer them as best we can. Blake will follow along on the chat. I'm playing Contra on the SNES Classic right now, so watch me get embarrassed and brutalized in this game, because it's really hard. Although much easier, I find, than the NES Contra game. I don't remember being particularly good on this.
Hi, everybody.
Originally came out on the Super Nintendo. This is actually a co-op one. We should play this together, but still, we're going to play co-op, but still you got to follow the chat. Can you do that?
Yeah, and by the way, chat, if the audio doesn't sound good, I'm over here, so you gotta
be forgiving. But do let us know.
Just let us know in the chat so that I can run over and fix it.
Yes.
So
yes.
Okay, so that's the chat there, right?
Yep, the chat's right here. Question.
Wow, that text is really small.
Will sponsors get any exclusive gifts such as an EP t-shirt or water bottle? Great question, Clayton Blair. We don't have any of that stuff right now. Sponsors right now are supporting us and helping us to build as much content as we possibly can. We are still working on some of the, emojis and things like that we can offer through there. And then I have been thinking about some specific things that we can offer to sponsors as well. And once we're at that stage, we will definitely make an announcement for that. It's a question of what are we going to spend our time focused on? Are we going to spend our time trying to create as much material for you guys and keep building content, or are we going to try to come up with and this has been my whole hesitation with Patreon, is like you could just spend like all of your business time trying to handle the extras and shipping them and making sure everybody's happy, and then
yeah, it's a lot of work, people.
And then you forget that, oh yeah, you've got a lot of content to build.
Okay, hang on. So which character am I? I'm the green one, right?
Yes.
Okay. There's a bit of a delay, so it's hard to tell.
Right.
And also, I'm looking at chat, so it's like...
Yes, I know. Oh, the excuses. Their excuses are coming. Okay. I get it. And plus, this is a really hard game. I seen vids of a few vendors selling items, mostly new stuff coming later in the year. I pre-ordered yesterday from Mezco. Oh, we're talking Toy Fair. Yes. Mezco's was number one on my Toy Fair, my top 10 of Toy Fair list. And it's absolutely a company that you should be following on Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that. They're always working on some really cool stuff. What's 2 players B and 2 players A?
I don't know.
Okay, let's play 2 players B.
2 players B. Yeah, let's try it.
Okay. Okay. Comment. I like how the game's title logo was displayed in place of the title of the review score screen. Yes.
I have like no gun bullets.
I tried that differently with JBJ Blaze. I tried that yesterday. I just I searched for the title, and I went, yeah, you know what? It's kind of a cool thing.
I have a weird problem here. I'm shooting and nothing's coming out of my gun.
Oh, really?
Look at that. What is this? Somebody who knows Contra, tell us what is happening.
Maybe you have an invisible gun.
See, I would love to be playing Mario World right now, but we would get flagged, so we can't play that. I would love to play a Super Nintendo game that I know, but, you know.
The VR grid. I know you guys dabble. Well, when do you think VR will be covered more regularly on EPN? I know you own the headsets, Vic. Why not talk about them a bit more? Audience just won't care right now.
When VR headsets get easier to film and use, that's when we'll talk about them.
I think we've done some pretty awesome VR videos already, and we've figured out some ways to do it.
Can we try a different game?
We'll do a different game.
One that we don't suck at?
Yes. And let's see if there's a 2-player. Mega Man is not, right? Secret of Mana.
No.
Yeah, we could play 2. I think there's 2-player in that.
If you thought I was bad at Contra, until you see me at Secret of Mana.
We will cover... I mean, here's what I'm doing with VR. When I feel like the games deserve us sort of stopping on all of the flat screen entertainment that's out there and slowing things down so that we can really focus in on it, we will do that. And I do check out the stores all the time, and I get all the press releases, and I get codes and stuff. And it does become a matter of how much time we have physically to be able to check everything out, and then you got to kind of prioritize a little bit. I think it's just me for a little while.
Oh, sorry. JBJ Blaze just corrected my pronunciation of Mario.
Yes. So we will do more VR for sure. I mean, there's a lot more VR coming, and certainly You know, Sony has made some pretty big investments. I think Oculus did some huge, great steps forward with the touch controllers, and then there's been the Vive Pro. So more software will be coming, and all of that will get us to spend more time with all of this stuff. It really does. I mean, like, at the same time that VR has been getting better, so too have all of the flat screen, you know, choices that are out there as well. Amazing indie games, amazing AAA. It's never been a better time, right? There's just so much choice, and it just becomes a question of how much time do we physically have, or do we actually have to be able to devote this stuff. I wish we had a few more staffers, but at the same time, if we had more people on staff and we're making more video content, like, it becomes a question of your time as well. Like, how many pieces of video are you going to be able to watch?
Yeah, I mean, I'm already cutting about 10, 15 minutes of stuff a day, which is a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we want to get to everything, and I think it's tricky to kind of choose all the right ways. But you know what? We love your feedback, and we love your comments and suggestions with all this stuff. So if there are games that you really feel like, look, you're missing this, you should be talking about this or play this game. For anything, flat screen or VR, just let us know, and we'll do this on a more regular basis. Let's see what else we got. Question: what was your favorite part about Blade Runner 2049? I don't know if it's a part in the movie or if it's really just a.
You want me to button mash the cutscene while you
button mash. I think it was more a sense of place, and like the physicality of the world just felt so real. And now I've seen Altered Carbon, and I've seen Mute. There'll be a review for Mute coming up pretty soon, and those both seem directly influenced from the Blade Runner aesthetic. And you just, when you see those that movie and that show, you see what Blade Runner did that's so exceptional. And yeah, I mean, all the performances are excellent, and the visual effects, the fidelity of the experience. But I think the thing that really holds it together is that it feels like you're there. It feels real. It doesn't feel like they were cheap about any element. And that is production design. That's production sort of crafting, the artistry of building the sets and locations. It's definitely from the performers sort of making it feel real, and the director basically reining in, Denis Villeneuve, just reining in all of that talent to make it feel as believable as possible. And what an impossible task they had to come anywhere close to the quality of the original Blade Runner.
Oh, how do I get the sword? My favorite part of Blade Runner was when Harrison Ford didn't feel like moving, so he just sat down for most of the movie. That was my favorite part.
Oh, smart ass. He was amazing in that movie.
Yeah, and he sat down for all but one of his scenes. He was sitting in a chair.
Thorazine pre-ordered all the Mezco Clockwork Orange characters. I heard the remastered Secret of Mana isn't very huge.
How do I get this sword, Vic?
That I don't think you get that right away. It's been many years. So Vic, has EPN always been a small crew, even back in the Tommy days? Amelia Lopez, great question. We have always been, I mean, we're a Canadian production team, and if anybody knows anything about Canadian media budgets, they're always much smaller. I think it's like, it's kind of analogous to the population sizes between Canada and the States. It would always surprise me, the crew sizes and stuff that I would see with other shows when we go down.
We went to E3 once, and X-Play had an entire stage on the floor at E3 with 5 camera people and just jibs and lights. And meanwhile, we're on EP, we're running around with 2 people.
Yeah, per team.
Yeah, and X-Play has this giant setup.
So we would maybe go down with 10 people or something
Tops,
like that. Yeah, but we would separate them off into a bunch of
we'd have
different
2 or 3
directions.
people per team. But it's just the contrast between that and X-Play.
And I mean, I've seen it over and over again. There was that geek show on AMC where they would have 2 cameras and 2 people writing everything, and a makeup person and producers and production assistants.
Even Greg
and interns.
Grunberg's show.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
And I think it's partly to do with the fact that
I got the sword, you guys.
You got it. There you go. That Canada just has less people, so there's less money to work with. But that also makes Canadian media talent pretty pretty damn resourceful and always in demand. And we've had lots of people from our production company be hired in lots of different places and be headhunted by American firms and stuff like that, and people in Toronto. And totally understand, because we've learned a lot. You have to be nimble and small. And so even at our largest, when we were making 600 episodes of television a year, 600 half hours, and then documentaries and all that stuff, we probably had 40 people kind of working in different parts of North America all at the same time. So we've never been huge, but we've always been able to do a lot with a little, and that's always been the mantra. So I kind of think that we were, you're selecting, you got it. I kind of feel like we were making internet shows or internet style programming for television, but one of the influences that I had was Much Music and that whole City TV vibe, and that's the way that they've always run that kind of thing. You know, it just feels, in addition to it being a better financial situation because you're not dealing with the huge risk of overspending with lots and lots of people, which usually is what kills shows. And it's a secret as to why Electric Playground has been around for so long, is that we've been, smart with the way that we spent the money. But you also get something that feels a little bit more natural, a little bit more authentic. I think the more faces and more people you put in, the more kind of tense it becomes, and the more sort of internal issues start happening.
The less focused it gets, the more tools you have in the kitchen.
More people want to put their thumbprints on it. Sometimes that works really well, but sometimes it just feels a little too sort of corporate and removed from an honest kind of conversation.
I think a good analogy with games is like, that's why indie games always feel like they have a really strong creative center, whereas big games that have like 400 people developing them, not so much.
Yes.
Because it's the same analogy, right? Like.
Yeah. We got the Blake. First of all, let's talk here. I'm going to steer for a bit. You tell me what you did in California.
Oh yeah, Far Cry. How much time do we have on the clock? Probably not very much.
We have.
Okay, so yeah, the Far Cry interview that you guys just watched. I went on that trip by myself. Vic didn't go, so it was just me with the camera, and that was in a town called Livermore, which is a small town outside of San Francisco. It's about 45 kilometers, 50 kilometers outside of San Francisco.
Yeah.
So that's a 2-hour drive in San Francisco traffic. So what Ubisoft did was they rented a ranch and basically turned it into the game, like the world from the game. So
That's
they had
awesome.
they had whiskey tasting and like a shooting range.
That's such an old school video game event.
They went all out.
They don't do that kind of stuff that often anymore, so that's so awesome.
Yeah,
I'm glad you went. I'm kind of bummed I didn't go, but I'm also happy that you got to experience it. Because
I got to play the game.
Yeah,
not really. Yeah. And usually when I go, I'm filming it. I don't get to actually play the game or do any of the fun stuff.
Did you shoot guns too?
I shot a crossbow.
You shot a crossbow.
Yeah.
Did you feel weird shooting a gun? I guess it's just weird timing.
Well, when you're in the States, it's normal, right?
Yeah.
When in Rome.
Yeah.
I mean, I shot 20 guns in the game, and I didn't feel weird about it either. So.
No.
But, I'm looking forward to the game. I think it looks... I love the Far Cry series, so I'm looking forward to it.
They're amazing games.
They're pretty good. Yeah, Far Cry 4 was, like, great. I mean, I love that game.
Timberwolf says, what's the Blake origin story? How did we find you?
I got hired basically as an intern.
Yeah.
I was getting paid, but basically a paid intern. I was getting people coffee. I've told this story before. This was in 2007, which was 11 years ago, which is hard to believe.
Unreal.
I was 12 years old, and
So was I.
I was basically getting people coffee, and I basically worked my way up from there. I started doing camera on the lab with Leo Laporte because nobody else wanted to do camera on that. So I was like, I'll do it. And then that's how I showed people I knew how to use a camera.
Well, let's be fair. It was like one of several cameras, and it was a lot of standing.
But I started on camera 3, and then I was camera 2, and by the end I was camera 1. And we used to do these quick plays, basically commercials, and nobody wanted to write them, and I was like, I'll write them. And that showed that I knew how to write, and that's how I started writing the rundown a year later when EP Daily went live, EP Daily went daily, and we started doing the rundown.
That's right.
So it's that old story about how if you start at a company and you're at the bottom, just do the best job you can do and do all the jobs that no one else wants to do, and you'll work your way up from there.
Well, and honestly, the right attitude every single time.
Believe it or not, I actually have a pretty good work attitude. Yeah. I have a bad attitude everywhere else in life.
Yeah, and basically any sort of challenge or anything that's ever been thrown Blake's way, he's been like, okay, yeah, I got this. I can figure this out. And it's been amazing. And honestly, as somebody that's run a company, that's exactly the right kind of, you need people that think like that. And also, Blake, I think you also understood how tenuous all of this media stuff is and can be. And in your 11 years, you've seen a tremendous amount of tumultuous change. And I've seen a whole bunch even before that. But I don't know. There was a real maturity, even though you were 12 years old when you started.
I just turned 20.
There was a real maturity to the way that you approached your work, and also understood the awesome opportunity that we had to be able to do this work. And I would tell everybody that in production meetings, like, look, we may not be able to do this forever, but when we had so much work, it was, I think, a little hard for people to believe that would ever go away.
All you have to do, there's a quick story, I know we're done, but the last couple of days I was doing a separate job for a friend. That's why I booked the time off. And I was shooting a corporate finance seminar for 16 hours a day for 2 days. And it paid really well, but I hated it. Yeah. So if you have a job that you're not sure if you like, or you're not, like, if you just go do some other job, and you'll see how, like, that job reminded me how much I love working on EP, basically. Yeah. Because, I think it's important. Working on EP is much better than shooting someone talk about money for 16 hours.
But also, and I think your story sort of points to this, is no matter what job you have, remember that someone owns that business.
Yes.
And remember that they're trying to keep their employees paid.
Yes.
And they're trying to stay in business. So do the best goddamn job that you can to help that business go.
I did the best job I could on that, but I'm just...
Yes.
If you have a job you love, don't forget to appreciate it.
Don't squander it.
It's super rare to have a job you actually enjoy doing.
And honestly, that's why I keep doing it too, because before EP, I had a bunch of jobs that I didn't hate, but they really weren't what I wanted to do. And I always remember that, And that's why this has been so special. But I feel like most of the people that have come through EP knew that, or know it now, and really understand that, because it is special. We love doing this, and we love that you all watch. Got a funny question. We're gonna.
I gotta go to shut the stream off.
Hold on. I'm asking for a friend from Ryan Landis. Do you know if the Labo robot kit will come in XXL? I have no idea.
Well, you can make it as big as you want.
I think you could probably expand that.
You can stick stuff onto it.
That's a very funny question.
Okay, I gotta go to the stream.
Okay, you guys rock. That wraps up our rundown. Sorry we didn't get to our EP Live for today. Sorry we didn't get to every question and comment, but you guys are incredible. Remember, we stream EP Live as often as we can when we're in Vancouver. We are back again on Monday with a brand new EP Live. But in the meantime, have an awesome weekend. Watch our classic EP episode over the weekend. And we will see you on Monday with a brand new EP Live. If you dig what we do, don't forget to hit subscribe, that little bell, and if you're so inclined, that sponsorship button too.